Welcome into Intentional Lounging, brought to you by Better and Green. And this is Intentional Lounging because we do not have a name for a fantasy show. So we're just rolling with our football show. Guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you go check out the draft guide. I don't know when this video is going to release. So I'm not going to give you a day, but the Better and Green 2024 Fantasy Draft Guide, it's probably just days away now before it comes out on July 19th. Right now, you can get it 50% off over at bettergreen.com. That's better, BETTOR green.com. Guys, if you are going to play fantasy football this year, this is a purchase that you have to make. Not need to make. This is one you have to make. And if you're doing a live draft, you have to use DraftKits. DraftKits.co. Best stickers in the game, best boards in the game, at the best price in the game. Stop playing with yourself. So, guys, we're going to have the 3 burning questions. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm very serious about this. I've been using them personally for years, so I want you guys to be able to enjoy them as well. But we got 3 burning questions. Each of us have one about questions that we have going into the fantasy football year. I will start first, and my question is, right now we've got Kirk Cousins on the Atlanta Falcons. We've got tight end 1, Kyle Pitts. We've got a running back 1 in Bijan, and then we have Drake London sitting right there at an ADP of wide receiver 13. Kirk Cousins, quarterback 2. Currently. So is there a chance, what do you guys think, that all of them finish as a 1 at their position? So as in top 12, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, all of them doing this at the same time? Or potentially you think maybe just 1 or none? Ethan, let's start with you.
Yeah, great question. Kirk, ADP 2. That's interesting. But he always is kind of a pass satter a little bit. I think he's definitely top 12 for sure. Bijan, if he stays healthy, absolutely. I'm going to throw you a curveball. I'm actually back somewhat high on Kyle Pitts. The guy's just too talented for me to fully throw out the window yet. We'll get him a consistent quarterback who's been there, done that, showed how to do it. If he doesn't do well this year, then I will never think about that guy again. But I think it's a good year for tight ends, but I'll give him the top 12. Drake London's the one I'm out on. Not fully bought into him. I wasn't bought into him at USC. Wasn't fully bought into his draft stock in the NFL outside of fantasy. And yeah, I think 13, there's too many mouths to feed. He'll obviously be getting the toughest coverage from the defense. So I think Kirk might check it down a little bit. We saw him use KJ Osborne a lot up in Minnesota. Some of the other guys outside of Jefferson. And Drake London is no Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, I think London is going to be the odd man out in that rotation or in that foursome of the top 12 at their position.
Yeah, honestly, Falcons, I think, are going to be. They're in one of the worst divisions ever, so I think they're going to have some success. I agree completely with Kirk. I think Kirk will definitely be a top 12. Agree completely with Bijan. I think Bijan's going to finish the overall number 1 running back. We already saw it last year. You know, we were wondering if he was going to be some of a bust. He was phenomenal last year. His catching capabilities is unreal. And I know they do have what's the other running back that I thought was going to. Yeah, I was big on him last year, and Bijan completely took over the reins. So I'm super big on Bijan. I can't jump in on Pitts yet, so I'm gonna leave him out. I know he has the talent, and he also, like Ethan said, doesn't have the quarterback or had the quarterback, but now he does. So we know how much Kirk loves his tight end, so I could see it, but I'm gonna leave him out, and I am gonna leave out Drake London as well. He's not a wide receiver 1; he's a wide receiver 2 at best. The nice thing that I do like about Kirk, though, he's got Mooney from Chicago. If you look back at Mooney had a couple really good seasons before Justin Fields when he had an actual quarterback that could pass the ball. So I really like Mooney quite a bit. He also got Rondell Moore. Ray McLeod from the Niners. There's a lot of weapons for Kirk, and you can add Pitts in there too. Kirk's going to have a lot of weapons. I definitely think Kirk will finish top 12. But, I think Bijan's a guy. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he finishes overall running back number 1.
Guys, right now, Kirk, quarterback 19, going behind guys like Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Matt Stafford.
Daniels is a joke, even though I am wearing my Commanders. Stafford, he's old.
The best of those.
Yeah.
I think Stafford's going to have a big year.
Yeah.
I hope so. We just got him in Scotty Fish.
Yeah.
And we got both Pretty Boy and Staff Daddy.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. All right, Ethan, what is your burning question for this year?
All right. So mine's a little involved here, but obviously 2 top quarterbacks taken in the draft last year, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, had basically complete opposite rookie seasons. Bryce Young was hardly rostered in redraft leagues. CJ Stroud was rookie sensation. Got him to the playoffs. Might have even won a playoff game. Can't quite remember. I think
He
they
beat
lost
the Browns, right?
Yeah,
beat
beat the Browns.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So obviously 2 separate directions here, but we so often see the sophomore slump. And Bryce Young is just calm, cool, collected. He's coming from Alabama. He's been able to win in big games. The Panthers have gone and gotten some big names for him this year, both in the draft and free agency, as on the O-line and in the wide receiver room. And with Stephon Diggs going to Houston, he's kind of a boomer bust guy for me. I feel like he was kind of a cancer in the Bills locker room that might have held Josh Allen back. That's a personal opinion. It's hard to say, but he's also maybe a top 5 receiver in this league. So I guess my question is, with all that going on, is there a chance Bryce Young finishes ahead of CJ Stroud in fantasy points this year?
I'll take this, unfortunately. I was pretty high on Bryce last year, if you guys do remember that. Regret it quite a bit. I wasn't going to be high on CJ Stroud because he is a Ohio State Buckeye. Turns out, like most of the time, I was completely wrong. Yeah, the nice thing about CJ, and I think CJ played into it, is there was no expectations. He had no expectations at all. If he sucked, he sucked. There was no one that was going to take over his spot. His backups were that long neck Davis Mills, and that was about it. So he could have sucked and still been the starter all 17 weeks or 18 weeks, whatever it is. But there's just so much pressure now. And then, like Ethan said, they get Diggs, who has been a top 10 wide receiver for as long as I can remember. And then you still got Tank Dell, a healthy Tank Dell. You got Nico Collins. Like, I think there's might be too much pressure on him to succeed. And if I don't know. Well, first of all, I don't really like him, but I do like seeing what I'm seeing out of CJ Stroud. I like him on podcasts, on interviews. I think he's a well-spoken guy. I think he's funny. I'm just a little worried how he's going to do with adversity. And if he starts losing games, how's that going to go? Is Stephon Diggs, like Ethan said, going to pout and come and ask him for more balls like he did to Josh Allen all the freaking time, who is, quarterback 1 or 2, whatever he's at. So I could definitely see it happening. Is it going to? I doubt it. But I could definitely see it happening. Like Ethan said, they got Deontay Johnson now at Carolina. Adam Thielen had a great year last year. He's 100% going to regress. Xavier Legette from South Carolina, he's, I think, going to be phenomenal, staying in the same state or same almost state. He definitely has more weapons, but yeah, I'm still going to go with CJ, but I'm not drafting CJ. I wouldn't dare draft CJ. I think last year was in my opinion, his max. I don't think he can do better than he did last year, even with the wide receivers he's getting this year.
Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, he had one game against the Denver Broncos and torched them. And then his next year he came out and had like over 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. It was just absolutely insane. Tell me CJ Stroud can't do that. I am incredibly high on CJ Stroud. I think I even might have had him in my top 3 quarterbacks. Like, ridiculously high. I just don't see, with all that talent that he has. And another tip for fantasy, too, is I don't really want any of the Texans receivers, tight ends, any of that. I would rather just get Stroud and just get all of it. Because I think that I think Nico played a little bit above his skates. I don't think he's as good as he looked last year, but I still think he's good. Tank Dell is clearly a weapon. They still got John Mechie, Dalton Schultz. Now you got Stephon Diggs. You add Joe Mixon. You still have Damian Pierce, who I'm not giving up on yet. Pretty good offensive line as well. You look at Carolina, you get Deontay Johnson, who went the whole season. Like, I think he broke the record for most receptions without a touchdown in Pittsburgh. Don't love that guy. Legette might be great. Adam Thielen, he's 33 this year, and I don't think we've ever seen a wide receiver over 32 have a wide receiver 1 season. And even outside of wide receiver 1, 2, 3, I don't really think he's much of a flex play. I think you could do it maybe a matchup based if he's playing a really soft defense. But for the most part, I don't know if he's going to get enough targets to be really fantasy valuable. Bryce Young, also people like crapping on the Panthers. The Panthers' offensive line isn't horrible, and their defense took a step back getting rid of Brian Burns. So maybe there's a chance that Bryce Young does throw more. So I think that people are sleeping on Bryce Young a little bit. He did definitely upgrade in the weapons. Also got the best running back in the draft, but coming off an ACL injury, I don't know how much he's going to be able to play. Miles Sanders, the Eagle God, it looks like nothing last year. So I don't think that the run game is going to be huge. So Bryce Young is going to be a big factor for that team. But unfortunately, I think that he's kind of in the same situation as the Patriots, and maybe if you want to lump the Cardinals in, they're just one of the bottom teams. And just when you're that bad, it just kind of pulls everybody down.
I agree. It's hard to disagree with that, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Wyatt, what is your fantasy question?
Can I start with a betting question first that is related? Then I'll get into my fantasy question.
Can we put enough money on it that we get a free draft guide?
Yes. So if you guys remember last year, we had a playoff bet, and that was the Bears to not make the playoffs, and that was minus 190, easiest bet we ever made. You put $19 on that, you win yourself a free draft kit. I got another very similar bet. This one's to make the playoffs, and I am just very confused with the line, and I think it might be the sharpest play in my head on the whole board, and that is for the Chargers to make the playoffs at plus 110. That, first of all, them to not make the playoffs is minus 130. That should be minus 300. For the Los Angeles Chargers, they only kept Herbert. It's the only guy. They got rid of Eckler. They got rid of Allen. They got rid of Mike Williams. They have Johnston, who can't catch. They did get rid of their coach. They got Harbaugh, which I get. It might be the Harbaugh effect, I guess, but it's very hard to win at a new team your first year. So I'm just having is that line there only because of the Harbaugh effect? Is it so sharp that it's square is my question. So anyways, I'll let you guys answer that first before I get into my actual fantasy question.
I would say that if you look at the 4 years that Harbaugh was the head coach in San Francisco, they ranked 30th, 31st, 31st, and 29th in pass percentage. So I'm going to throw that out. And they've got Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, and Kamani Vidal, who I'm a little interested in, to be honest. So if he's going to do a run-heavy offense, are they going to be able to win? I don't know. I feel like Herbert has to shoulder the load in this, and I don't know if that offense is going to be conducive for that.
Yeah. Quickly, I just saw J.K. Dobbins released a diss track on Gus Edwards. Did anyone else see that?
Are they teammates?
Did he tear his ACL walking to the mic?
And yeah, they were Baltimore teammates, and now they are Chargers teammates. And yeah, allegedly Gus is ahead of him on the depth chart. It was on Twitter, so I don't know if there was much, if that was true or not. But why I'm interested that you brought this up, because I've barely looked into the NFL futures at this point. I'm getting to the point where I start looking deep into that. That's the one that stuck out to me. I love it. I think the Chargers make the playoffs. I think they have a resurgent year. And to be honest with you, I think they push the Chiefs for a division title. I really do. I don't think they get the division title, but I think with 3 weeks left, I don't think the Chiefs are going to have it locked up.
What is this, 2012 to 2023?
LT could still play, man. I think, yes, I think I like the Chargers this year.
It just seems like the most obvious. They went 5-12 last year. 5-12, dead last in the what is that? The AFC West, dead last. And you have to remember the Raiders are in that, and the Broncos are in that. Like, they're below those two teams who are terrible.
Yes.
I don't know. Minus 130 for them to not make the playoffs seems like the easiest future bet, in my opinion, on the board. So I'm a little worried about that. Anyways, I liked hearing your opinions on that. In regards to the fantasy, same team. There's only 32 wide receiver ones. It's extremely important to have one of those on your team. Wide receiver ones are so much better than wide receiver twos, unless we're talking like the Texans, Bengals back in the day, or the Dolphins as well, where the wide receiver two is a wide receiver one on any other team. They're just behind a phenomenal wide receiver. Well, wide receiver ones are extremely powerful. Who the hell is the Chargers wide receiver one? Is it Josh Palmer? Is it Quentin Johnston? Is it Lad McConkey? Is it DJ Chark? And I'm looking at the rest of the roster, and there's not really a name I know. Cornelius Johnson, the rookie out of Michigan, I only know him because he went to Michigan. One of those guys is going to have to take over wide receiver one duties. So I guess the real question is, are you going to draft, if you had to choose a wide receiver one from Chargers, is it going to be Palmer or Johnston, or are you going to take a shot on Lad McConkey, who, again, great, but he's not a wide receiver one on any team. He is a poor man's Wes Welker right now. So are you going to take Josh Palmer or Quentin Johnston as the Chargers wide receiver one? Or who's going to emerge as that team's wide receiver one?
It's not a bet. You can lock it in. It's going to be Lad McConkey.
Really?
It's going to be Lad McConkey. There's already stories coming out of camp that him and Herbert are getting quite the repertoire. I think Johnson's not going to be as bad as he was last season. Palmer, I think this is Palmer's third or fourth year. And I know he's buried behind guys like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, but at the same time, guys, how many games did these guys play? Like Mike Williams was out, pretty much all last year.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen. Yes. Keenan Allen, he misses a lot of time as well. Palmer, he's a deep threat. He's like the Chargers' Mecole Hardman. Like, the dude can be dangerous, right, but I don't think he's going to be consistent. Lad McConkey, I think Ethan, in our breakdown of the draft, you said that one of the guys that was interested for the Chiefs was Lad McConkey, that he could be in that like Edelman role. I think he could absolutely be in that role for Justin Herbert. And I think out of all those guys, Lad McConkey is probably my highest dude. I would feel good drafting him as my like wide receiver 4.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate anything you said, Ben, but I think you're just maybe a year or two early. I think it's Quentin Johnston. I loved him coming out of college. I thought he was kind of a poor man's Calvin Johnson, honestly, a little bit, maybe closer to like I don't know. Really good player, though, in college. Obviously had his struggles, but I think he will command that room now that Keenan and Mike Williams are gone, especially Keenan because he was been the top dog there forever. I think he'll accept that role that he was in at TCU. And yeah, I think he's going to flourish. I like him a lot. I do think Lad is like a great flex guy. I think, for lack of better comparison, it could be like Randy Moss with Quentin Johnston and Wes Welker with Lad, where Welker still has a great year, puts up right around 1,000 yards, maybe even more touchdowns. But I think Quentin Johnston is going to be the go-to guy. I think he has a big year. I'd be pretty high on Quentin Johnston. I think he finishes probably like top 15 receiver.
As long as you don't say Palmer, I'm not going to poop on you.
I'll touch on one thing. Palmer shows glimpses of being absolutely phenomenal. But like you said, Ben, where has he been? There's like one game he'll go off for like 3 touchdowns, 200 yards. You're like, okay, where has this been? He does it one time a year. And then he ends the year 400 total yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't know where he goes for the other 16 games. The one thing that's true. The one thing I worried about Quentin Johnston is he kind of just seems like a little bit of a confidence issue. You know, he dropped a couple balls early. That didn't seem like he ever recovered from that. The nice thing is his coach got torched by Quentin Johnston in the national semifinal game, and maybe they can, I don't know, start a little dialogue or something and get some confidence back in Quentin. So I would go with Quentin as well. I think Lad's going to get a crap load of targets and possibly receptions. I just don't know if he's going to get there in yards. Quentin, I do like that Calvin Johnson reference there. He can easily go for, every time he's catching the ball, it's a big play opportunity. So I agree. Quentin Johnston. Lad is interesting as well, though. Josh Palmer, I think it's going to be the same situation every freaking year of him going off for a week. I pick him up, and then I drop him the next week on waivers. But, yeah.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Now, I actually I thought of this while we were talking because it's the LA connection. Puka Nacua right now is going as the wide receiver 7 and 10th overall in fantasy drafts. First round pick. What do we think about Puka Nacua being that high?
Love the guy. I love him. I don't know if he's there. I don't know. He's still going to be great. I just don't think he's. I mean, they still got Cooper Kupp, and Kupp was fakes, and Kupp's never going to be what he was. He'll never be what he was ever again. He's way past his prime. He was injured a decent amount. I don't know. I kind of put him in the same boat as CJ Stroud. I think they did as good as they could just do. I don't think they could do better than that.
Yep, I was just going to bring up CJ too. I think with a year of film under you and with that type of success as a rookie, you're now the guy that every team's going to game plan against. Where maybe towards the end of the year you started getting talked about. I mean, Puka did come on early and often in that offense, but yeah, now teams have that full year of study on you, and they're going to be game planning against you, trying to not let you touch the ball. So yeah, honestly, I mean, I would almost take Cooper Kupp again over Puka this year.
And you're looking at Cooper Kupp currently with an ADP of wide receiver 22.
Oh yeah, give me that.
7 versus 22.
Yeah.
That number just, that gap, I feel like is just really crazy. Like even when you're looking at guys like Waddle and Tyreek Hill, let's see, Waddle's up to 18, and I feel like Kupp and Puka could be kind of right there neck and neck. So to have that huge of a gap is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
Where are AJ Brown and Devontae Smith?
AJ Brown is at 6, so right above Puka, and Devontae Smith, beneath Cooper Kupp at 23.
Really?
ADPs are really wild this year.
I would take Kupp and Smith in a heartbeat over Waddle, I believe.
And let's do this real quick. You guys tell me which person you'd rather have, Puka or Garrett Wilson.
Garrett pisses me off.
Puka, Devontae Adams.
Adams is good for 8 receptions a game.
Puka, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marv.
Yeah.
Puka, Olave.
Puka. Get Olave off my freaking screen.
Olave. Okay, so we're putting him right there at wide receiver 11 then.
Puka over Olave, right?
Yeah. Puka over Olave, so he'd slot in right there at wide receiver 11. So definitely getting overdrafted there. All right, you guys have anything to add before we get out of here?
It's currently, when we're recording, July 10th, and we're already psyched about fantasy football. So long ways to go, but also we're not that far away to start talking about it. So Ben, I know you've been working extremely hard on our fantasy guide. We got pre-ordering available, so make sure you do check that out. Fantasy guide will be live shortly, so never too early to start talking fantasy football.
I think preseason game 1 is August 1st, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is August 1st. So we are closer than it feels.
Ravens money line.
Well, much closer than it feels like. It feels like it really came up quick this year, which is good. The summer went by really fast. Guys, like Wyatt said, if you haven't yet, please go get our draft guide over on bettergreen.com. We just made this video because we were just on the Fantasy Football Expo podcast. If you guys haven't watched that episode, please head over there and watch it. And also, guys, we're going to be at the Fantasy Football Expo out in Canton, maybe doing some sports betting panels, talking about some sports betting, and then we'll have a table too. First couple hundred people that come out get a free cup if you subscribe. If you're already subscribed, man, I'm going to give you a handshake too with that cup. So we'd love to meet you guys. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys later. Peace, guys.
Later, guys.
See you guys.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast. Better in Green.